Hey guys, Pretzelman945 here. Welcome back to another video. I sit before you today in my brand new, very comfy office chair, which makes me feel a hell of a lot fancier when I'm recording a video like this. Um, and that's because we have a special update video today. Um, as an updated list, not as in like a personal update on the channel update type thing. Um, Today's video is an updated list of my top 10 favorite pieces slash works of fiction. So yeah, without a doubt, let's get into the list. And number 10 is One Piece. Um, I've talked about One Piece a fuck ton on this channel. It might be one of the most talked about topic on this channel. Um, if not the most of all time. It is my third favorite anime. I think that you know some of these are like not gonna be talked about in as crazy depth, such as I think One Piece is like a prime example of this because um I don't really know what else I can say about One Piece that I haven't already praised on the channel before. Like I've made hour-long character tier lists multiple times. I've made so many different One Piece related videos. I've talked about I reviewed each arc individually. Um, um, I've talked about how it's got my favorite world building in anime and one of my favorite worlds in all of fiction. I don't quite remember where it placed on that list, but it was pretty damn high. I know that. Um, everything about One Piece is fucking brilliant, and this just is continues to be proven to me with every single new chapter that comes out that has some new piece of information that connects back to something else. It's just all genius, and One Piece is peak, and that's why it's in my top 10 fiction list. Um, and number nine is Marvel. Now I kind of it's been I think it actually has been like 2 years since I made that list last. I don't quite remember like when the um exact um like when the exact video came out, but I feel like it was like summer of 2023. I could be wrong about that though, and I'm not going to scour through my long ass list of videos to get. Well, actually, I suppose I could. Let's see. Top 10 fiction. Works? Yeah, works of fiction. Yeah, actually, it was 2 years ago. I wasn't crazy about that. Okay, tangent aside, um, Marvel is at number nine spot. It's dropped several places in the top 10. It used to be like five or six. Um, and uh, part of the reason of Marvel dropping is because of the fact I kind of lost faith in Marvel's projects. Um, over the past year, and over the past like 2 years, which was restored with Fantastic Four being so damn good. Go watch my review on that if you're curious about my full thoughts on it. Um, but I kind of, especially in the time since I made that first video 2 years ago, um, I kind of debated with the fact of like, do I want to include like, possibly a combination of Infinity War and Endgame because those are my two favorite Marvel movies and like my first and third favorite movies of all time respectively. But like, the more I thought about it, I was like, no, I think it should really encompass all of it because it's not just the MCU, it's also like some other Marvel spin-off things that I've seen that I used to watch when I was younger that I really enjoy, which kind of contribute to this. And um overall, obviously a big part of its placement in my top 10 pieces of fiction is the MCU, but like another part of it is also like I think what makes Marvel so fantastic is kind of the conglomeration of everything, and that's going to be kind of a theme for several things throughout this list. But like, I think it's I think this kind of thing is best embodied with Marvel specifically. And number eight is Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Again, another one I have talked almost to death about on this channel. Um, it is my second favorite anime and my third favorite TV show of all time. I think that this is literally a perfect TV show. There is not a single thing in this show, in my opinion, that could possibly have been done better in literally any aspect, in my opinion. Um, and that kind of just sets the standard for like what we have for the rest of this list, mind you. Um, at number seven. My favorite live action TV show that's not anime, and my second favorite TV show of all time is Breaking Bad. Um, I want to say I've talked about Breaking Bad a fair amount on this channel, but definitely not as much as uh any of any of the 8, 9, or 10 spots on this list. But um Breaking Bad, I think, is just an absolute masterpiece. It has so many brilliantly written characters. It's got um two insanely iconic villains. Villains list coming soon, by the way. Um and I just This is another one that I kind of don't really know what I can necessarily say about it that much, just because it is such a well-known and like well-regarded TV show. Um, but like it's for a goddamn reason because the plot structure, the character writing, as I've already said, is just absolutely brilliant for like 99% of the characters. Because fuck Ted. Um and yeah, that's why it's here. It's because it's my second favorite TV show of all time and the best live action TV show in my opinion. And number six is The Witcher. Now, this is really interesting because it does encompass perhaps the most different types of media in this list, being The Witcher 3 as one of my favorite video games of all time, The Witcher book series, which I have read the entire book series of, and I don't know where it would rank in terms of book series. Maybe that's another video I need to make as well. But it's very high one of my favorite book series for sure. Um, and then the Witcher TV show, which I really really liked, and it was my motivation to read the books because I really enjoyed it. And I think it's been a very good adaptation so far, including season three. Um, what I love about The Witcher is the fact that it is like one of the coolest and just most expansive worlds across like all its different mediums. Um, I feel like between what you can explore in the video game, the intensely vivid descriptions of the books and the way that the TV show does an excellent job of bringing those locations and book descriptions to visual justice. Uh, I think that it is truly magical, and compared to like something like Lord of the Rings, which is also peak, I feel like The Witcher is a much more unique take on like Western fantasy, um and I love how it seems to kind of not only be a unique take on Western fantasy, but also like um take inspiration from like a lot of other different fantasies and cultures, and the way that it like takes inspiration from those and kind of mixes those ideas as well with traditional Western fantasy concepts is so interesting. um and considering the books, I think that they are probably the most like vividly descriptive books I've ever read. Like it feels like every single word that Sapkowski writes down instantly followed by a beautiful image of the intent of his words created in the reader's mind. And in terms of the characters, I think that Geralt is a brilliant protagonist. That's another updated list that's coming soon, by the way, is updated protagonists. Um, I think that Geralt is a brilliant protagonist, in all honesty. And I love his character arc, and I kind of like I love in particular I love the concept of The Witcher, because like of all the ideas that are introduced into this kind of unique take on Western fantasy that is The Witcher, I think that the idea of a Witcher itself is such a unique blend of so many different traditional fantasy elements. And I just think the whole idea behind Witchers as characters is so cool. And Geralt, I think, is like but not too much about Geralt because I do need to make the protagonist video, but like, I love Geralt as the main character of the story because of the way that he seems like the perfect character to identify with this. And I feel like the same thing is done with Ciri in terms of like taking traditional fantasy tropes and mashing them together. Because Ciri's character, as I've talked about a lot in several different videos, has like that Child of Destiny part, has like the mage part, has that Witcher element from Geralt. Um, and even I think the Witcher's take on like magic and mages even is incredibly unique, and I think that that is excellently demonstrated with how great of a character Yennefer and a bunch of the other mages are. And just in general, the way that the whole magic system works in The Witcher is fascinating. So overall, um I love The Witcher. And I think that it is such a um brilliant like use of fantasy in the way that it combines so many different unique elements together. And number five, and brand new to this list, is 20th Century Boys. 20th Century Boys is a manga which I have talked about in videos. I think when did I make the video where I ranted about how peak it was? It was like a little under a month ago. And I have now completed the full story. It is my second favorite manga. The number one manga is higher up on this list. Um, and 20th Century Boys, in my opinion, is the most brilliantly constructed plot in all of fiction. Now, I have talked quite extensively about Naoki Urasawa and just the way that he builds plots and mysteries and it just being utter fucking genius, and also the way that he writes villains. And I truly think that 20th Century Boys is his magnum opus because I think that it takes like all of the elements that were so key about his other work, at least the ones that I've consumed anyway, which are Monster and Pluto, in addition to 20th Century Boys. Other works of his I would love to consume uh, at some point in the future. But the way that Pluto kind of outlined a super fucking interesting world based on a really fucking interesting idea. And then the way that Monster built up this brilliant mystery with one of the best villains in fiction. I think that 20th Century Boys is ultimately Urasawa's true magnum opus because of the way that it combines all of these things. Because it is truly such a fascinating and wonderfully creative idea, with every single concept being based off of prophecy that was drawn by kids. And the way that that kind of relates to the ideals of the whole turn of the century idea, and the way that that combined with the timelines is mixed into the different ideas that the story approaches, is just brilliant. And also, it has an even better mystery build-up than Monster, in my opinion, because it's like multiple mystery like main plot lines that are the same quality as the main mystery plot line for Monster itself. Um, and the way that it creates several of these while also creating a ton of smaller mysteries is just because every single question that is set out in this manga, every single one, there is a thoughtful and plausible answer for that makes sense in the story or makes sense for some character's motivations or character arc. Every single story element that is introduced has a purpose. Like even in Monster, there was not this extent of brilliant storytelling, in my opinion. Literally, every single possible thread element that you could think of, plot element, even ones that you completely forgot about from like one-off details in the very beginning of the story, end up becoming some of the most crucial pieces of information. And that is why 20th Century Boys is the most brilliantly constructed plot in all fiction. And also, compared to Urasawa's other works, which had brilliant characters, I think that 20th Century Boys has by far his best roster of characters in terms of the quality of character writing. Because obviously you have Friend, you have Kenji, one of the best protagonists of all time. As you'll see, he's very high on my protagonist list. Same thing with Friend in the villains list. But there's also like Ocho, Yukiji, Yoshitsune as well. Kana has such a powerful character arc. Um, I think it has by far my favorite roster of characters of any Urasawa arc. Um, Ironically enough, this will probably be the one I end up talking the most about just because it's the newest on this list. But um, yeah, that's why 20th Century Boys has the most brilliantly constructed plot in all of fiction, and that's why it's number 5 on this list. And number 4 is Lord of the Rings. This, in my opinion, besides Star Wars, is the most expansive and best world in all fiction. Um, because of just in my opinion, Lord of the Rings is the absolute pinnacle of every single possible idea of Western fantasy. Every single thing that is based in some idea of Western fantasy has some sort of inspiration, even if it's the barest, tiniest thing, from Lord of the Rings. Like, just as one example, orcs as a concept would not exist if not for Lord of the Rings. Um, a lot of you didn't know that, huh? And and even like the way that elves are portrayed in fantasy beyond being helpers of Santa Claus is because of Tolkien as well. Like everything about Lord of the Rings and how expansive the world and the history and the lore of it all is just brilliant. Like how expansive the world of Lord of the Rings is. It's so expansive that that there had to be written an entire fucking book about the whole history of it, and there's still missing pieces and mysteries that can only be that like possible answers can only be gleaned from like examining passages and letters that Tolkien wrote and like other comprehensive guides that others have made. I mean like fucking hell. Tolkien invented like I don't even know how many languages for his story. I know it was at least two because of the Elvish languages. It was probably more than that. Um, I truly think that Lord of the Rings is the absolute pinnacle of all Western fantasy. Um, And in terms of like a pure fantasy world, I don't think anything will ever surpass Lord of the Rings. And speaking of things that take inspiration from Western fantasy, at number 3 spot, and my favorite manga of all time is Berserk. Um, Berserk, I think, has the best indirect world building in all of fiction. I did explain the difference in my favorite worlds in fiction video. I would recommend going to watch that since I've referenced it multiple times by this point. Um, and just simply like Berserk is um every possible element of it that you can think of is so brilliantly thought out. Like I made a video I think back in June about the monster designs, which did pretty well. And I think it has the best art of any manga. Vagabond comes pretty close, but Berserk still holds the top spot by far. Um, uh, I think that Guts is one of the best protagonists, and um, I think that Griffith is another one of the best villains, and I think that this is another list I also need to make, but I think they have the best like rivalry dynamic in slash dynamic in all of fiction. Um, and that's like not even close. um, and just every aspect of the storytelling is so methodically thought out and brilliant, and like I don't even know what to say about Berserk truly. It's hard for me to come up with words as to why I love Berserk so much because it is just that fucking peak of a piece of fiction. And number two is Star Wars. Now, Star Wars, I think, is my favorite world in fiction because it's not even just a world, it's an entire fucking universe. And to be honest, even as much as I talked about Lord of the Rings in that aspect being so grand, nothing realistically compared to the fact that the world of Star Wars is literally an entire fucking universe. Um and there are just so many different stories in Star Wars and so many different fascinating characters and mythologies and ideologies and so many fascinating things that it takes vision from. And I feel like there are also so many different visions of Star Wars. And ultimately, I think that is the best thing about Star Wars, in my opinion, is the fact that it is this ultimate culmination of all of these different visions. You have obviously George Lucas's original vision. You have the expansion that Dave Filoni brought to a lot of the animated shows. You have the unique perspective that Jon Favreau took with The Mandalorian. Um, you have the video games, and then you have anything Legends material, which is like a whole host of other authors and comic book writers and other video game developers. And there are just so many different aspects of Star Wars, in my opinion, that just make it what it is. And I love it so much that it's like the ultimate combination of those things. Um, and number one, though, and this will probably not change for the rest of my life, to be honest, because my number one piece of fiction is Attack on Titan. Um, Everything I said about Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood being like a perfect show, um, uh, Attack on Titan is like a level beyond perfection, in my opinion, because every single element of it is so good that even using the word perfect to describe it would just not be good enough. Like, it has some of the best world building in all of anime, not quite in all of fiction, because that was a tight list, but some of the best world building in all of anime across its whole series. It's got the best character in all of fiction and protagonist. It's got like a villain that's up there with the best, in my opinion. Several villains, really. Um, it's got beautiful animation. It has a tie for the greatest ending in all of fiction with Code Geass for me. Um, it has like the best roster of characters in all of fiction overall. Um, just everything about it is just the best, and yeah, beyond perfect is just the only way to describe Attack on Titan, in my opinion. Another one which I kind of struggle to find words to describe. It's the same thing with Berserk, really. I think both of these are just um beyond perfection is the only way to describe them, but that is even more true for Attack on Titan. Um, but yeah, that is my top 10 favorite works of fiction in the updated list. I hope that you liked the list. Tell me what you thought of the list. Let me know your own lists if you can. A lot of people can't make lists like this, especially when it comes to favorite pieces of fiction. But if you have like a favorite thing or a piece of media, then let me know in a comment. Um, as I alluded to during the video, This week will be updated lists as well on my top 20 villains in all of fiction, as well as my top 20 protagonists in all of fiction. So I hope you will look forward to those videos, and I do hope that you enjoyed this video. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye bye.